What if Damian Lillard joined the Miami Heat? Or what if the Lakers didn't trade for Russell Westbrook? These and other questions might have crossed your mind. Today we're gonna try to find an answer, so let's start with Dame. Because Lillard with the Heat could mean a championship for the team. In Miami, Dame would play alongside Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. They would probably make a great trio with Dame as point guard, Butler as forward and Bam as center. Since Miami made the NBA Finals this year with 9 undrafted players on their roster, Lillard could be the missing star power they need. Ultimately, both Dame and Jimmy would get their long-wanted first ring. The only problem is that this is unlikely to happen. The Heat have nothing the Trailblazers want. Furthermore, they would need to give up some of their starting players like Tyler Hero or Kyle Lowry. In the end, this could also end up being a bad trade, just like our next one. Because when the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook, they made a big mistake. But before we continue, let me remind you that we also have to talk about what would happen if Kawhi Leonard stayed with the Raptors after their title, or if the Heat didn't trade for Jimmy Butler. So make sure to watch until the end. The Lakers responded to their first round loss to the Suns in 2021 by trading for a third star in Westbrook, who couldn't have fit worse alongside LeBron James. A mistake it took the next 2 seasons to correct. Instead of trading for Westbrook, the Lakers keep that 2020 title group together, meaning Kyle Kuzma and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope are never traded and Alex Caruso isn't lost as a salary casualty, while the Lakers stuck the luxury tax with Westbrook's gigantic contract on their books. So instead of missing the 2022 playoffs and barely making it this past season, the Lakers were a top 4 seed in both seasons and had the ability to add to their roster as well, completely changing the conversation around the franchise and giving them multiple chances to get James a 5th championship ring.
Pulls up, wants to use the window and hit the top of the glass.
Come on Russ, you can't destroy the Lakers like that. But while the Lakers failed to build a big three, the Sacramento Kings failed to draft a franchise-defining player. In the 2018 NBA draft, which also featured Luka Doncic, the Sacramento Kings had the 2nd pick. But instead of Luka, they selected Marvin Bagley III, who didn't develop into a great player, but an average one at best. Many teams feared that Luka's talent, coming from Europe, wouldn't translate to the NBA. However, as we now know, they were dead wrong. If the Kings get Luka, they finally have a star point guard who runs the show, and their struggle of missing the playoffs for 16 straight seasons would have come to an end a bit earlier. What the team does from there on is a different story, but drafting Doncic would have been a crucial step to building a solid team again. Today, with the Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis on the Kings roster, the team is fun to watch again, but although they are reaching the playoffs again pretty easily, they are still far away from being a championship contender. In summary, Luka shows his magic while Sacramento is tragic. Okay, but we still haven't clarified what happens if Kawhi Leonard stays with the Raptors after they win their championship in 2019. The Raptors got everything they could have hoped for from Leonard in his one season north of the border. They just couldn't convince him to stay there. But what if they had? Toronto was good enough to win the title in the NBA bubble in 2020 without Leonard. Instead, it lost a conference semifinals heartbreaker in 7 games to Boston, while Pascal Siakam had a subpar series. With a healthy Leonard, the Raptors would repeat as champions in Orlando, and in turn the entire group that has slowly splintered off the past few years, including Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet and coach Nick Nurse, would all still be in Toronto and the Raptors would still be a serious title contender. Now if you think we don't have any more interesting what ifs, I will tell you otherwise. We still have to discuss the case if Jamal Murray hadn't got hurt in 2021 or if Chris Paul hadn't been traded to the Suns. So let's start with Murray. In the 2 weeks after the trade deadline during the 2020-21 season, Denver looked like an absolute juggernaut. Landing forward Aaron Gordon via trade helped the Nuggets start outscoring teams by over 18 points per 100 possessions. In 110 minutes, the quartet of Murray, Gordon, Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. played together. But then Murray suffered a torn ACL, knocking him out of the next 2 postseasons and leaving Denver essentially sidelined as a Western Conference power. With Murray never leaving the lineup, Denver would have reached the NBA Finals in 2021 instead of Phoenix, who lost to the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games. A healthy Warriors team would have stopped the Nuggets in the West Finals in 2022, but by then all doubts about Jokic's ability to drive the team's winning ways at the highest levels would have been dispelled. He would have gone on to claim a 3rd straight MVP award this season, as a result becoming the 4th player to do so, and Denver would have gone on to win its first championship, setting it up as the league's next dynastic power who 4 consecutive trips to the conference finals or beyond, plus a title. So in all respect to Jamal Murray, I believe if he didn't get injured, it would have been kinda boring seeing the Denver Nuggets destroy teams in the playoffs every single year. But Jokic winning a 3rd consecutive MVP? That would have been a feat on its own, don't you think? Alright, we have 2 more cases to go, and I think it's time to talk about what would happen if Jimmy Butler wasn't acquired by the Heat. Could you even imagine that? A Heat roster without Butler? I couldn't. Miami missed the playoffs in 3 of the 5 seasons after LeBron James returned to Cleveland and only once won a playoff series. In a moment, it appeared they had no path to landing a player of Butler's caliber, only for the Heat to manage to flip Josh Richardson to Philadelphia for Butler. In this scenario though, they do not. With Butler, the Heat made the NBA Finals twice and the Conference Finals 3 times. Without him, Miami flounders in the play-in mix over the past few seasons, failing to find the sort of star necessary to have the success the Heat have had with Butler, and now has just won a single playoff series over the previous 9 campaigns, a stretch that causes Pat Riley to finally step away from the franchise after more than a half-century in charge. I guess Jimmy and Miami fit like peanut butter and jelly. But listen up, because there's only one more what-if case and then you've made it. And the last question is, what if the Phoenix Suns didn't trade for Chris Paul? Before acquiring Paul ahead of the 2020-21 season, the Phoenix Suns hadn't made the playoffs in a decade. After his arrival, Phoenix immediately returned to the NBA Finals for the first time in nearly 30 years, and then made trips to the 2nd round the following 2 years. In this scenario, however, Paul never arrives, with Phoenix instead trying to build on its impressive run in the bubble in 2020 with Ricky Rubio still manning the point and Kelly Oubre Jr. on the wing. But instead of leaping up to the top of the West, the Suns instead hover around the play-in tournament mix, eventually finishing 9th and losing to the Warriors in the 8th placed game to miss the playoffs. While steps forward took place the past 2 years, making the playoffs and losing in the first round both times, the massive leap forward this group experienced in the Paul era never materialized. As a result, the Suns never acquired Kevin Durant nor Bradley Beal, and Monty Williams was still let go after the season ended. I hope you enjoyed these what-ifs. If you did, you can consider liking and subscribing. So now you know what would have happened, but there's something you need to know about the next season in the NBA. There are 5 teams who are going to dominate. So check out this video to get to know more. Seriously, just click it. I'll see you there.